role that I was brought through to play was, as in the Illuminati, was as a goddess. Specifically, the address is Mother Goddess, Starfire. And the Starfire goes back to the blood in the menstrual blood, what is contained in that. And the address, the way that I was addressed, was Mother Goddess. There are only 3 Mother Goddesses. There can only be 3 at a time on this planet, and there is a male equivalent of which there can be only 3 of them. They don't seem to have the psychic abilities, and they look for people that have that and people in the bloodline that have that. And I've had that. I've had a tremendous amount of psychic ability, and so I was picked and bred from before birth, and this is also something that other survivors that have been in high positions have known about me and told me. First of all, they needed the psychic abilities because they control or attempt to control events, because I would have the ability to foretell what was going to happen, and they needed the information to just try to control it to an outcome that was good for them. The second thing is that during the rituals, you had to have psychic ability. You have to be very powerful in that way to call out the old ones that are also reptilian, that come from another dimension. They actually they materialize from out of another dimension and are present at rituals, and they are so powerful. Their presence is there's such an evilness about them, and they want out of this other dimension, and they can't. They have to be called out by someone who has that power, and the reptilians don't have this power. That's very important. That they don't have this power to call out these old ones that have to do with them. We have the ability to foresee, to be able to become vibrationally higher, see into those levels, go into those levels, and in fact, agencies use this. They call it remote viewing. Humans have the ability to go into the past, to go into the future, to go to other places, to astrally leave their body, astrally, and to see things that we've always had this ability, and it's like having the third eye, which they don't have. They don't have this ability. So during a ritual, these old ones are called out. Christianity would have called the demons. They are called out, and there is a circle that it has a hexagon in there, which is a powerful occultic symbol, and then there is a pentagram, and then there in the middle of that there is a triangle, and if you're the one calling them out, then you stand in the triangle so that you're not devoured or taken by these creatures that come out. They can't penetrate it, and they cannot get outside the pentagram, and they want out. They're always demanding to be let out, and so you have to be very powerful to keep them in line and to make them go back when it is time for them to go back. It brings power to the rituals. It brings power to them. They are told things by these entities, and they are encouraged to go on with what they're doing, and knowledge is imparted to them through these entities. But it takes a person with the ability to bring them out and make them answer, because they don't want to cooperate. They have to cooperate when the right person has control over them. Yes, they want out of that dimension. They have been thrown into that dimension, and they can't leave that dimension. And that's actually what the abyss is about, is being in a different dimension. It's like something to do with the fourth dimension, because the moon has an influence on this planet, and also the sun. These also take place during different things that go on with the sun, but the moon it's kind of a really very cyclical thing with the moon. And it takes place on full moons, new moons. It has to do with the current religion, or what they're using, the Druid religion that they've taken and used. They still hold on to the Egyptology type of religion. They hold on to the Druidism, though, and they're currently calling themselves Druidic or Druid. And Druidism is tied in with the cycles of the moon, on which it has to do with planting, sowing, and harvesting. And there are so many days that they can use from this to their own purpose and their own end. There were people that were bred from birth. They were bred to be ritual sacrifices. I have a problem with what they is said a lot today, especially by the False Memory Syndrome Foundation, that how could all of these people disappear? How could all these babies be born? I worked with a nurse midwife. We did home births, and it's very easy not to register a child when it's born. And then they have these children that they're kidnapping and bringing in from other countries, and no one misses them because these are third world countries. And children they have the most energy, the purest energy, they're the highest form of sacrifice. They will terrorize these children and mind control these children. And in rituals, by the time they're brought into rituals, they may be drugged, or they may not be drugged, or they may be in an altered state because of the mind control. And they are used as actual blood sacrifices during these rituals, because of, again, reptilians needing their blood. And they will take various organs from the sacrifices, depending on what date the ritual may, what the ritual may be associated with on that date. But they will also slit the throat from the left ear to the right ear, and the blood will be gathered in a goblet, and it will be dispersed among the reptilians, and dispersed among, also after that, among people that have been participating in these rituals. There are things happening every month of the year. There is not a month in this 12-month system that something is not happening. It's more than one. I mean, it's every full moon. It's, and the very important rituals are the summer solstice and the winter solstice, and then there is the vernal equinox and the fall equinox. And there is Samhain, and there is Beltane, there is Imbolc in February, there is Lughnasadh, which is in the beginning of August. There's a whole week leading up to Beltane, and also leading up to Samhain. It's called Grand Climax. First is Beltane. Away from the public arena, there's a ritual that's taking place in 6 different locations in this country for all of the Councils of 13 in the area that I'm in. It is the East Side Christian Church on 7th and Temple Street in Long Beach. And it is for the High Council of 13. And in this country on that night, it is a satanic ritual. It's actually, there are 3 nights in a row at that church. The first night is Halloween. That night is about the worship and homage to Satan. And that is what a lot of people in this country know the devil to be. This is about the devil, Satan. And Christianity talks constantly. I mean, I believe they created Christianity to be what it is. And so they also have created this Satan. And so they control in that way. And on that night there's a lot of bloodshed, and there are sacrifices made to Satan. And I mean, what else I must say what is going on with Halloween in this country, it's just becoming so popular. It is also to desensitize people to the whole thing, and even this backlash Christian movement that wants to call it the Harvest Festival. It does not realize that the Harvest Festival has to do with Druidic religion. And again, they are still doing the same thing and celebrating the Harvest Festival. That's what the Harvest Festival is about. Christmas has to do with it's a time. It comes right after the winter solstice, which is a satanic or a Druidic celebration. It has to do, there's a day in there called that day which is not a day. It has to do with the killing of the old king and the birth of the new king, which is a Druidic day. On the 24th or the 25th at midnight, there is a ceremony that's specifically for children, and it's called the last bulb on the tree. That is something that's used with children. It's part of programming them into the whole thing. And there were things that would happen to the child that hung the last bulb on the tree on Christmas Eve, as it was a common practice to decorate the tree on Christmas Eve, and the tree in itself is a phallic symbol. Christmas is based on a pagan day, back to Roman times, and Christians have given it, they think they have given it Christian meaning, and it means something else, and it does not. There is the case with the last bulb on the tree that has something to do with what happened to this little girl, John Bonet. This occurred on this night because of the day it has to do with, and the ceremony that it has to do with. And there were rituals done on that night to these little children. John Bay is a satanic deity, or Satan. John Bay is a name for Satan. That is why she was killed on the day that she was killed, and her family, as far as I'm concerned, her family is involved in this, and that there's always a price to be involved in it. She was the price. This little girl lost her life